Yo, how's it going everybody? This is Julian over at BOS Labs. So today we're back in Photoshop, and in this video we'll be going over a couple of the most important concepts to really unlocking the power of the software: layer masks and selections. Whether you're looking to do some image retouching, create some motion graphics or photo composites, the ability to isolate a portion of an image to work on independently is a must. So what is a layer mask? Simply put, a layer mask allows you to show or hide a portion of an image or layer in a non-destructive manner using the colors black, white, and gray. Here we have a beautiful shot of some pomegranates and berries on layer 1. To create a layer mask, we make sure our layer is selected and click the Add Layer Mask button down here in the Layers panel. After adding the layer mask, you'll notice that our image on the canvas hasn't changed, but our layer has changed a bit in the Layers panel. Now, in addition to our layer thumbnail, we have a link and a white box. If you remember earlier, I mentioned that layer masks use the color white, black, and gray in order to dictate what to hide and show. By clicking the Add Layer Mask icon below, what we really did was add a layer mask that shows all, hence why the layer mask thumbnail is white. If we undo and instead click the layer mask button while holding the Option Alt key, we'll be adding a layer mask that hides all. This is reflected on both the canvas, our image is gone, and in the layers panel, our mask thumbnail is black. If you look for these options in the menu bar, you'll find them in Layer, Layer Mask, Reveal All, or Hide All. To more clearly demonstrate the effects of white, black, and gray, we'll once again add a layer mask to layer 1. Now with the mask selected in the layers panel, let's go over to the gradient tool and add a gradient that shifts from black to white. As we can see, the layer is fully transparent on the left, where our mask is black, and fully opaque on the right, where our mask is white. We can also see that the center of the image is neither 100% transparent or 100% opaque, which shows us that shades of gray also affect the opacity of our mask. If we Alt-Option click the mask thumbnail, we can see our mask on the canvas. To delete a layer mask, we can either right-click the mask thumbnail and click Delete Layer Mask, or go up to Layer, Layer Mask, Delete with the proper layer selected. Now this image was shot by Chewy for a client of ours, which they found to be absolutely perfect. But for this scenario, let's say that they came back with some notes to make the pomegranate pop, a very common request in our line of work. We duplicate layer 1 and rename it. We'll mess with the desaturated layer to bring down the saturation and crush the blacks a bit using adjustment layers. Now let's add a layer mask to the desaturated layer. To punch out the desaturated pomegranate and show the brighter one below, we're going to use the paintbrush tool with the color black and paint over it while our mask is selected. We'll also add another adjustment layer and bump up the saturation on the lower layer. And without much effort, we now have a pomegranate that pops, and we can easily add more or less of this effect by playing with the layer mask. We now understand what layer masks can help us accomplish. Up till now, we've used the paintbrush tool to paint in our mask, but using the paintbrush isn't always very efficient or precise enough for many applications. In Photoshop, there's another technique that deals with the isolation of an area in an image for further manipulation: selections. Making a selection can be accomplished in many ways, and tools continue to be added to Photoshop to simplify the process. Now, we won't be going into detail with these tools, but let's go over a few of the more popular ones and how they can be used in conjunction with masks to deal with more challenging projects. The marquee tools create selections using simple shapes. Here we can easily see what happens when a layer mask is created based off of a selection. If we look at the mask, there we see our favorite colors, black and white, where the white color is limited by the bounds of our selection. The lasso tools can be used to create complex selections, but I recommend using them more for cleaning up selections made with other tools. Below the lasso tools, we have some selection tools, which I tend to gravitate towards when first tackling a selection, but we'll come back to these in a bit. If the selection tools or some of the new, more automated ways of creating a selection don't work, there's always old reliable: the pen tool. The pen tool allows you to create a complex custom path by placing anchor points one by one. The pen tool's ability to create straight and curved paths is what gives it its power in not only creating selections, but also drawing custom shapes. The pen tool can be pretty challenging when first starting, so we'll see if we can tackle it in more detail in a future video. Here we have an image of some ice cream cones. We want to isolate the cone on the right, so click and hold the object selection tool or the fourth tool from the top, and select the quick selection tool. Having the quick selection tool active turns your cursor into a round brush that can be resized just like the regular brush tool. In order to create a selection, we just paint over the area we wish to select, and Photoshop will try its best to create a selection up to the edge of what we're currently selecting. This tool works best when there's a defined edge on the object. If we zoom in, we can see that there are a few things we can fix, so in order to subtract from the selection, hold down the Option or Alt key on PC, and again paint away the parts that we don't need in our selection. One of the newer selection tools in Photoshop is the Object Selection tool. When used in the right situation, it can be one of the fastest ways to create a selection. With the Object Selection tool selected, we are given two modes up in the option bar: rectangle or lasso. Using the tool in rectangle mode, we can draw a box around the ice cream cone and wait to see what Photoshop selects for us. With this image, Photoshop is able to tell that we are trying to select the ice cream cone and gives us a very good selection. With the lasso mode selected, we can come in closer to the object we need selected. And again, a very good selection is made. Now, this won't be the case with some images with very busy backgrounds or undefined edges, but in this case, it works. Now that we're happy with our selection, we can create our mask like before. And there we have it, a layer mask of our ice cream cone. Taking a quick look at our mask, we can again see that the ice cream cone is revealed in white and everything else is hidden in black. I'm quickly going to trim our canvas to the cone by going into Image, Trim, Based on Transparent Pixels, and OK. Layer masks can be further adjusted after creation. If we zoom in on the top part of the ice cream, we can see a bit of a dark halo where some of the background is still present in our mask. Now we can definitely go in with the brush tool and paint that out with black, but instead let's right click the mask and click Select and Mask. Since we're trying to get rid of a dark halo around our mask, I like to change our view mode to on white with the opacity at 100%. There are many ways we can use the available sliders, but for this application we're going to shift the edge in a little bit, then play with the feather and contrast until the dark halo is gone. Click OK, and we can now save this image as a PNG with transparency, or just save it as a PSD. To see the workflow again, let's look at another example. Here we have another image taken by Chewy for a campaign starring Ben, which you might recognize from some of our other videos. Now I'm sure you agree with me that this is a great image, but like most things in life, it can be made a whole lot better with ice cream. So let's bring our ice cream cone image back and rotate and resize it just over Ben's hand. Once we have it in place, we can hide the layer for now. We make a quick selection of Ben's hand and reselect the cone layer and unhide it. Now if we create a layer mask right now, we'll cut out the top part of the cone and only see the section that was in our selection over Ben's hand. But if we instead invert our mask by going to Select, Inverse, to select everything but our current selection, we get our desired outcome. A little color correction and we now have Ben in a suit holding ice cream with Manhattan and the Freedom Tower in the background. Well, there you have it, layer masks and selections in Photoshop. Although the examples we went over are a bit simple, even having a basic understanding of these concepts is enough to get you some work. Early on in my career, I spent many hours cutting out dancers from backgrounds for a dance school using this exact workflow. If you have any questions concerning what we talked about here today, or future Photoshop tutorials you would like to see, hit us up in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.